Hello and welcome to Positive Parenting. I'm Deanne Conrad, the Community Relations Supervisor for the Sioux Falls School District. We thank you for joining us on Positive Parenting. This is a joint venture between the education professionals of the Sioux Falls School District and the medical and child development professionals of Sanford Health. And we thank you for joining us today where we're learning about Sanford Promise. We'll find out what it is and how it's impacting students in the Sioux Falls School District and in the surrounding communities where students participate in classes here at the Career and Technical Education Academy. We have two guests joining us today. I'll have each of them introduce themselves before we get our conversation started. And we'll start with you, Liz.
I'm Liz McMillan. I'm the Promise Program Director out at Sanford Research as part of Sanford Health.
Wonderful.
My name's Allison Hutchinson, and I'm one of the biomedical science teachers here at the CTE Academy.
Well, thank you both for joining us today to talk about Sanford Promise. Promise stands for something.
It does.
Liz, you want to fill us in? What is Sanford Promise and what does that word promise stand for?
So the acronym itself is the Program for the Midwest Initiative in Science Exploration. The real vision behind it is K-12 education partnerships. So making sure that we're sharing Sanford research and the types of biomedical science and the appreciation of research and science for our community, especially that K-12 population.
That is, how old is Sanford Promise? It's a relatively new program.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. 2011 was when we really kicked off, was in the early spring of 2011 was when programs started. So we're 5 years in.
Okay, and oftentimes people think, a medical facility, you're focused on healthcare, you're focused on the actual delivery of services to get people well. But there is a whole lot more to healthcare, and that research component is critical. Why reach out into the K-12 realm to connect educators and connect students to healthcare?
So, there's a couple of reasons. I think it really started at Sanford Research top down. There was leadership within our organization that really values the connection and commitment to the community and to students and teachers, especially realizing that we need to develop a workforce that can both feed our own system but also be the innovators and collaborators that allow for us to function at research. Sharing with the community the benefits of scientific research also is a very valuable aspect of our scientists being valued in the community, and the work that they do being an important aspect of what we think about when we consider research that actually impacts each one of us very personally. So it started with a couple of research scientists who are actually volunteering their time and still continue to, and it really changed and affected the culture of what we see at research, that our scientists are all willing to participate, whether it be with first grade classrooms and engaging them in science, or with our high school seniors and making sure that they have access to the technology and resources and expertise of biomedical research.
Wonderful, and that's Allison. You've seen the benefits of this program. You have been named one of the Sanford Promise ambassadors. What does that mean for your role? And then we'll get into talking a little bit about what that means for your students as well.
Sure. So I can't exaggerate and overestimate enough the role that Sanford Research and specifically Sanford Promise has had on our program. The biomedical science program started in 2010, and I can with confidence say that we could not run the program and the quality of program that we do without the help of Sanford Research and Sanford Promise. So I probably don't say that enough, but we could definitely not do what we do without you guys. It's amazing to have the type of connections that we do with scientists working in the lab and all of their people as well. My students don't probably have an understanding of just how lucky they are to have such an amazing facility with such amazing people willing to share their expertise and their time with my students. So whether it's for my own personal growth, I've had the opportunity to take classes with Liz in the Promise Lab, personal genetics, and just learning more about ways that I can engage students in the classroom. And then also as a summer research fellow. I had the opportunity to do that last summer and actually participate in lab research in the Savinoff lab. And so the teacher is the first learner, and one way that I've benefited from being a Promise ambassador is just with all of the exposure that I personally have had to help develop my science knowledge and also my laboratory skills and techniques too.
This is something, as you said, somewhat of a dream to be able to have these opportunities so close, and yet, you know, I think we think of K-12 as, oh, yep, it happens in the classroom, and then they go to college, and then they go into to career, but this has really brought career into the K-12 system.
Definitely. So one of our mantras is doing the things that scientists do, and with the Project Lead the Way biomedical science curriculum we have, in addition to the access through Promise, we really do get kids doing the things that scientists do much earlier on in their career than I was even able to do it as well. So we have 10th through 12th graders come out to biomed at CTE, and we are designing experiments, we're setting up controls, we're writing lab reports. We have the chance to, in some of the classes, the students test their own DNA for a certain gene variant that's unrelated to any disease that we know of currently. And so all of that connects directly with what real scientists are doing in real labs. And the kids have an amazing experience thinking like scientists, doing laboratory techniques like scientists do, communicating as scientists would, whether it's via lab journals or poster presentations. All of those things are ways that kids can start to see themselves as scientists, and then with the time and energy and relationships that we have with those particular students, really guide them into the post-secondary realm so that they feel like they have a shot at pursuing the roles that they envision themselves having.
And both at CTE and in classrooms throughout the region, it's really important that they get exposure to those types of careers so they know there's a variety of things. You know, we obviously need physicians within our system, but you know, doctor and nurse are not the only careers you can do in science. Or somebody said the other day, so biology degree, you're going to teach or you're going to go be a doctor. Like those are, you know, the things that there's hundreds and thousands of opportunities that exist out there. So opening their eyes to that early, giving them authentic experiences like Allison in her classroom is able to do, so that they realize what they like and don't like. And it's not going to match what I like and don't like. And that's important for them to realize that this is their own path and their own track, so that they can be successful down the road.
Just exposing them to all those possibilities. Take us through it, when you're working with a K-12 you know, school system, what are students able to do as part of Sanford Promise? Okay, so I've heard of and I don't know if it is or not, but the strawberry thing. Is that Promise?
We do a lot of strawberry things. There's a grown-up version of strawberry thing that we do at Science Happy Hour with Ollie, but then there's the student version as well.
Sure. So I know one of my own children experienced that during a field trip. So talk a little bit about what that looks like, just so people can get a truer understanding of what's really happening as a benefit from Sanford.
So I had the good fortune of being a classroom teacher ahead of this role, and I met a couple of these research scientists who are working out with what can we do with teachers and students, and so that transition was really helpful for me to have kind of an awareness. I definitely expanded my ability to work all the way down to kindergarten. I was afraid of elementary students, I think, working with them in the classroom because I didn't know what that looked like. But we kind of consider it a pathway and a pipeline through those elementary years when we really want to spark their interest. Try to keep it connected to our science, so within the biomedical field, but whether that's bringing them in for crime scene investigation like topics, or working with jelly crystals that are absorbing water as they go through, giving them these experiences to see what a scientist looks like, what a job in a facility looks like, and that not all scientists are like white coat, glasses, goggles scientists either, that some of them work out in our communities, and we have examples of those people on our research team as well that again are influencing what we do. And so we have scientists join the students at some of those. So with our elementary inquiries workshops, we bring students in for just a couple of hours through the large group elementary visits. And many of the Sioux Falls school districts have taken, or school systems have taken opportunities to do that K-5. And it's been fun to see the ones that come in. We did, for DNA Day, we did the strawberry DNA extraction and made DNA bracelets, which we'll do at the Science Festival as well. Middle school and high school students, I think middle schoolers, one of the things that I've observed, and I was a middle school teacher, but it seems that when they go from, some of them are as early as 4th grade, some of them not until 8th grade, but we really see a drop in their enthusiasm and motivation to pursue science as a career. And I have a lot of like personal research questions about what the reasons are for that, but making sure that they stay engaged and realize there's value and opportunities there, and finding out what their personal desires are that might lead them down those pathways. With high school students, a lot of them at this point are taking some of these courses, advanced science courses and things, and really want to be able to have that one-on-one connection with scientists, find out what their pathways were when our undergrads or when our graduate students and things at research and our scientists share, here's my pathway and here's my pathway. And some of them were like, the graphic of success is not a straight line, if you've seen that graphic. And some of them are like, they knew from 7th grade on what they wanted to do, and they made it happen, and they really worked to make sure that they were successful there. So it's fun for kids to see, I can go this way, I can try things. Sam Doima, one of our RAs yesterday, was presenting to a group from Washington High School, and he said, try things. And that's kind of what they all say is try stuff that you're not sure if you're gonna like it. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, and that way you know.
So have you seen this relationship spark some of those students who were maybe a little bit, I might be interested in, somewhere in healthcare.
Sure.
Have you seen a spark?
Yeah. So the best part of teaching is kids, and the relationships that we're able to build with students here at CTE because of the number of minutes and hours that we get with them every year. We really see growth from that sophomore or junior year into their senior year, and now we're kind of getting to, for me, the sad part and the happy part, graduation and sending them on to the next level. But most definitely, I don't necessarily know why every student signs up for biomed, but I do feel that as they progress through the curriculum, through the experiences, through Promise Scholars, they do start to hopefully change their perception or modify the perception that they have of themselves as a scientist. So when you are consistently exposed with new understandings or new questions, and you make connections, you're able to do various lab techniques, you start to think, okay, I can do this. What else can I do? And hopefully the best teachers are not just, here's what everything is, but generating new questions and fostering new curiosities that will hopefully lead into new discoveries. One of the most important things when we tour Sanford Research, and I feel like I could possibly give the tour because I got on it quite a bit. One of my favorite things, and it's just a very nuanced thing, but as Liz and others go around, they'll say, here's this lab, and they're focusing on this question, and here's this lab, they're focusing on this question. So the idea that we are developing students who will possibly work in research to find answers that you can't just Google. That we want to foster curiosity and foster good questions, and then go about methodical ways of answering some of those questions. So I'm hoping that as students progress through our series of classes and have experiences, that's what they're seeing. I will say too, one of the most enjoyable parts of being a teacher is seeing students after they graduate, just in the community or when I've worked at the lab in the summertime. I have a variety of kids who have gone on to work as some type of research assistant in various labs, and it's a big place, but you run into people that you notice, and I'm just like a proud mama walking around there like, oh, she's mine, oh, he's one of mine. I'm just so happy, and I hope that continues on.
Absolutely. So the research facility is really a rarity, I think, for Sioux Falls. The fact that we would have something like that here with these researchers from around the world, really.
Every continent except for Antarctica. That's what happens.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. So all of this knowledge that's here, and the focus specifically on certain working toward, or as you said, questions, or researching this particular question. remind us the focus of some of the research that's happening.
Yeah, so we kind of departmentalize it, but our Center for Health Outcomes and Prevention Research is our community science group, and they are really out there working with communities, figuring out if there are particular disparities amongst a certain community, many of those communities across the region of South Dakota, and they're studying things like fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, teen pregnancies, making sure that we can be as healthy as we can, obesity and type 2 diabetes, and looking at a lot of statistics and information that way. So there's a whole opportunity. Some of them are family consumer science trained, sociologists, all sorts of variety of scientists that work within that field. None of them are in there pipetting and working at the lab bench, but they're asking these same health-based questions. We do have a full clinical research team as well who has various projects, dozens, probably hundreds of projects I think that they work on or collaborate with and are able to get people involved in all areas. But cancer overlaps into both. So we have a cancer department where we have basic research scientists in the lab working on a cellular level and a molecular level of understanding what's going on with cancer. Are there markers we can identify early so that we can find out if a person has cancer before it becomes a mass of cells in a tumor? And then our children's research group is our largest research team, I believe, at Sanford Research, especially in the wet lab. They are a group of scientists who are unified under studying children, but that is so vast, right? So every organ system is covered by one of the members of the team. So whether it's brain or kidney or lungs, we do various rare diseases like primary ciliary dyskinesia, or recently we've been talking about Batten disease a lot, medulloblastoma. Some of these things that affect kids in our communities, and it might be one child, but it's worth trying to investigate and figure out. And through helping that 1 or 5 kids who are alive on the planet with that condition, we can understand more about our own brains, how we grow and develop, how our genetics and heredity works. So it really does influence all of our health and patterns too.
Absolutely. So, that's exciting stuff. And to expose our students to that is incredible. What are some of you mentioned something about the Sanford Scholars Program, is that what you talked about? And some of those, are there internship opportunities or what's available for students other than these, what's happening in your classroom and maybe a one-time field trip?
So feel free to jump in whenever, but here's what my students have been exposed to, maybe at the least level of commitment. Once a month, Sanford community lectures happen out at the research center, and they have a variety of scientists who will talk on a topic, and it really is community based. And so we encourage our students to go and attend that lecture. Sometimes it connects with exactly what we're doing in class, but kids can always get something out of the talk, even if it's just how do scientists communicate. So that's one way. There are workshops in the summers for students, maybe more intense, maybe a week long, or meet every week for a month or so, where they can focus on a specific topic, and that is much more hands-on. They'll be doing various
cancer genetics this summer, which should be a lot of fun.
Various lab techniques, and we've had students participate in that. And then, like you mentioned, the Sanford Promise Scholars Program is for current high school juniors. They apply, and depending on the number of spots that are available, we've had a few students each summer earn one of those positions, and so then you work out in a lab as a technician or a research assistant that's helping out there, and you have a mentor that works very closely with you, because speaking from experience, there's an extremely high learning curve that occurs, right? I remember this last summer going home to my husband and saying, honey, this is a great day. I knew what I was doing, and I did it, and I know what happens, and I can tell you about it if I want to. So I know that experience for students as well is very intense, but that could be life-altering for them if they decide that this is something they want to pursue, and then just the relationships and connections that they can make in their lab with their PI, their principal investigators, invaluable as well. So we've had a variety of students do the Promise Scholars Program. There's also scholarship and college credit that's associated with that as well, and it's a full-time job for them in the summer. So then what's been really great to see, we've had a few students that then their senior year were able to facilitate more of a capstone or internship experience for them during their classroom time as well. So instead of coming out here, even if their lab is willing to take them back, they head out to Sanford Research and work in the lab for an hour and then jump back into their other classes too. And that relationship, from what we've seen, oftentimes then continues through their undergraduate experience if they're going to school locally as well.
Wonderful.
We have scholars that have been employed now as
right.
part-time people as they work through their experience. Our first group of scholars graduates this year, so that's pretty exciting to see. One of them coming back as a Sanford nurse, and then some of the others are back involved in our system or looking at medical degrees and going to med school and onto post-grad opportunities that they will have. So
it really is that, as you said, sort of exposing the students and then maybe building a pipeline of those who have that interest, who want to do more or what have you, that sending them through college and seeing them back then.
And those are great because we get to see them for, they spend 10 weeks in the summer. I think my favorite thing last year was realizing we got finished in the morning on our last day. And by I think it was 4:30 or so still, and all 4 of my scholars were still there because they weren't ready to leave and kind of break out beyond and go back to school for their senior year. But we've learned from teachers and really Allison's an ambassador of our programs, but that to me means that we really rely on the needs of our educators and the professional background and experience that they have to say what do kids need, what are they interested in, what's going to be best for them. And that's why we started a program like the Promise Ambassadors, was to be able to connect with the teachers that we know that are engaged and invested in the system, reward them in some way for that investment, but also be able to utilize their skills and expertise as we start to develop new programs or decide what things are kind of worth time and energy commitments and what things we need to kind of consider changing or modifying to be more successful and appropriate for their students. So we've done a lot together, fortunately, to be able to create opportunities for students. We just had some of her BI students were coming in the capstone course.
Help me out.
Biomedical Innovations. It's kind of a capstone experience for our 4th year kids.
Okay.
And they came in and, last year I worked with a couple of them very independently, but this year we decided, since there was a group of them, that it would be great to show them all the different jobs and things within research. And so they would come at 8 o'clock in the morning and we would have a different scientist or person in our facility sharing about what their job looked like or showing them a technique that they use in the classroom or in the lab that maybe translates to the classroom, and some of the work that they've done over the last 4 years, or 4 years in CTE. Some of them finish in 2, but 4 years worth of course.
Currently what those same students are doing now to kind of share their experiences with future biomed students is we're making posters with the scientist's name and their brief description of what they do, and then how their work connects with something that we're doing in the classroom, so we can have scientist rock star posters all around our room and connect real people do these things. I'm not just making
not just
all
Bon
this
Jovi
up.
on a poster. Oh wait, that might date me a little. Sorry. But yeah, like you said, that these people are
real
people to know.
Right. Yes. And so these are real people doing really good work, and the fact that they've taken time out of their busy schedule to visit with you for an hour is an amazing opportunity. So like I said from the beginning here, we absolutely could not run the program that we do without the help of the Promise program through Sanford.
What a great opportunity. So what do you want, if our parents or grandparents are watching who have any sort of influence on their on their preteen or teen, what would you like to share with them about this partnership?
I think what I would hope for all students, for all kids, is what I would hope for my own children, that you would take risks in a safe environment like K-12 education, specifically in high school. Don't just follow the path that you think everyone else is doing. It works, you'll be fine, but there's so many great things that you can do, whether it's a program like Biomed or any of the programs at CTE. I have elementary and middle school children, and I'm already working out their high school schedule so they can have room to take as many CTE classes as they can, because I'm 100% invested in the work that goes on here. Because We have valid and rigorous curriculum. We have amazing skills that students can learn, whether it's laboratory skills. Our room is right across from the culinary lab, so we see kids cutting tomatoes while we're cutting sheep hearts. It's just such an amazing building, amazing place to learn. And then the specific, like in our name, focus on careers, not just when do I need to know this? Well, the people that you're becoming, those careers, they need to know this. And so I would just say take risks to have perhaps an unusual to you experience. When parents are advising kids, school is different now. And so don't be afraid to seek out advice from people that you trust to provide your own children with the best possible experiences. And it might look different than what you think high school should look like.
Absolutely. Tons of different opportunities.
Letting them explore the careers that they're
Yes.
interested in. You know, we a lot of times are familiar with certain jobs, and maybe whatever our motivation is, if it's financial or if it's an environment that they're in, I think it's really important that they're going to be living in that career for their lifetime, right? Or for changing it potentially if they don't like it, but allowing them to see what that environment really looks like and if that's going to be something that they enjoy. One of the things I've learned recently, and part of that is working with, you know, federal and regional grants and other organizations that have been doing this type of outreach or partnerships, is really that oftentimes our community has such an influence on the decisions that someone makes. And so if you're saying, well, I want to be this in my future, or I want to pursue this potential career, that changes. We all know you were a firefighter when you were like 4, right? Let's do it. And maybe you still are when you're 12.
Which teacher? That's a wonderful career.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything.
So making
bad
sure
about
that we validate the fact that that's a great opportunity, and what can we do to expose you to that opportunity, regardless of if it fits within our picture of what we want to see our kids become, is really helpful.
Very exciting stuff happening between the healthcare professionals in our community and the K-12 system that only benefit your children. So investigate that a little bit further if you are a parent or a student who's considering a career choice. Thank you for joining us today on Positive Parenting.